Hi, everyone. I know you've had a ton to look at for how to learn how to read court cases, so I appreciate your time. So this is going to be a much shorter video, and I just want to highlight for you the parts of a case brief. So remember, you've already learned how a court case looks. You've learned about the reporters, the head notes, how to find the issue, and the holding and the reasoning, how to read the background story of what brought the case to the court, and of course, how to read the procedure. So you already know the parts of a case decision, and you've had a chance to read the handouts in this section too. The focus here is going to be on how to actually do a case brief. So step number one, of course, is to read the court decision. Remember that active reading, get your pen or highlighter out so you can focus on finding the key parts of the case that go into the case brief. So here I've just put my little picture over the handout so you can see the handout of how to brief cases. So remember to focus on these parts of the case here, the facts of the case, the procedural history, the issue, and then the rules, and then that lead you into the analysis in the court decision. Now, any case brief is going to have this format. So I'm just going to scroll down, and this is what you can see in the handout. And then here's the template of what a case brief should look like. So your case brief should be labeled with all of these parts. It should have the case name, the factual history, procedural history, the issue, and then of course, if I scroll down, the holding and the reasoning. So take out a piece of paper, or really what I should say is open up a Word document or a Google document on your computer and put in all of those headings. So that way you already have a template that you're working with. And then you're going to want to move through the decision. And where you see the parts of the decision that you're being asked to brief, and for homework, that will be the Ulwick versus DeChristopher case. Look for the name of the case and put that first, and then the factual history. And here you're going to want to focus on, again, the most critical, most relevant facts from the court decision, which we've already described. Those are the ones that the case gives you. Then you'll want to write a section on the procedural history. So now you're looking for the part of the case that describes very briefly how the Ulwick versus DeChristopher case came from the trial court to the appellate court decision that you're reading today. Now remember, with the factual history, I'm just going to go back to that for a second, to use your own words as much as possible. Don't just cut and paste a section out of the court case and put it right into the factual history. Next, you'll want to work on the issue and the holding. Now, remember, we talked about when a court decision is kind to you and they find those words that say, they use those words like the issue is, the question we're being asked to resolve is, or the holding is. Look for those in the decision as well. And that will be your clue that you have found the issue and the holding. Now, a couple of key things to remember. Every case has at least one issue and therefore one holding, which is the answer to the issue. There might be more than one issue. If you see more than one issue, then you should number them, issue 1, issue 2, and then holding 1 and holding 2. I'm not going to tell you how many you'll find in the case for homework, but just keep in mind it is possible to have more than one issue on appeal. Now, the issue should be written in the form of a question, so it should have a question mark at the end of it. Even if you find a really good sentence in the case brief that says the issue we're being asked to decide is, and there's a sentence right there, turn that into a question in your case brief. And only one question. Even if you find two issues, it's one question for number 1 and one question for number 2. And then the same thing will be true for your holding. So the holding is the answer to the issue. One nice thing about any lawsuit in the United States, any case that goes up on appeal, is that there will always be an answer. Whatever legal question is posed at the appellate level, there will be an answer to that question as well. So your holding should begin with the words yes or no. Yes, the plaintiff was liable to the defendant, or the plaintiff recovered against the defendant, or no. And then answer whatever it is your legal question was. Again, to find the holding in the case, you're looking for a conclusion. What did the court conclude? What did the court decide in that case? The holding should also be only one sentence. No need for the holding to be more because you have your whole reasoning section coming up too. So far we've gone through, I'll just scroll back up, the case name, the factual history, the procedural history. So there's two different histories to the case, and then the issue of the case and the holding. Now we come to the longest part of your brief. Please make sure this is the longest section. Your reasoning should not just be one sentence. The reasoning is where you explain how the court reached the decision. So after, when you get to that part of the decision, when you're kind of within the head notes, this is the key part. Why did the court decide the way that it did? We know what the outcome is. For example, we know in the Costa versus Red Sox case that the Red Sox were not liable for Costa's injury. That's the holding. The Red Sox were not liable in the Costa versus Red Sox case because they did not owe a duty of care to this spectator to warn her that she could be hit by a foul ball. That's the holding. But in the reasoning section, you want to dig deeper and you want to get into the whys. So this requires you to go through the case precedent that the court cited. What were some of the key earlier decisions that the court is looking back on to make its reasoning today? So what were some of those key precedent? The other question is, what reasoning and what facts does the court apply to the facts today? What makes this case important now? So focus not only on the existing precedent, but also on the facts of the case that you're being asked to brief. What was important in this particular case that made the court come out this way? So this section should be at least one full, complete paragraph. It could even be a couple complete paragraphs where you summarize in sentence format the reasoning of the court's decision. It is okay to cite precedent. You could cite the precedent here. You don't have to, but it is perfectly acceptable to as you explain your answer. So I hope this helps you go through the structure of a court brief. Take a look at the sample I have given you. In addition to the Red Sox case, in your Blackboard class is also another full court case to read as a sample. That's Benushi versus Dorfman. And I've also included a sample case brief so that you can see what a case brief looks like. You can see all these parts of the case brief, complete sentences, periods, grammar, and all in about one page. If you have any questions, please use the discussion board because I've opened that up for us to talk about both of these cases as well. And remember, the one to do for homework is Ulrich versus DeChristopher. Good luck reading and briefing cases.